While I was stationed in Japan, my brother-in-law moved his entire family into my house and told the neighbors I had died in action. I was 6 months into my deployment at Yokosuka Naval Base when the weird messages started. Nothing dramatic at first, just strange texts from neighbors back home in Phoenix that didn't make sense. Mrs. Garcia from next door sent me a photo of pink roses she'd planted, saying they were in my memory and to honor my service. I figured she meant while I was deployed overseas. Then my mail carrier Julian texted asking if my family wanted to forward my mail somewhere permanent or keep collecting it themselves. When I asked what he meant by permanent, he said he was sorry for my loss and hoped my family was holding up okay. I tried calling him back 3 times, but he never picked up. My wife Kendra had been acting strange on our video calls too. Short answers to everything, avoiding eye contact, always saying she was busy when I wanted to talk longer than 10 minutes. She kept the camera angled weird, only showing her face, never the background of our house that I'd lived in for 4 years. When I asked to see our living room or kitchen during calls, just because I missed seeing home, she'd make excuses about mess or bad lighting, said the house was torn up from repairs, but she'd never mentioned any repairs before. The really weird part was her brother Marcus suddenly being around all the time. He'd never liked me, always thought Kendra married beneath her when she chose a guy who joined the Navy instead of going to college. But suddenly he was answering her phone sometimes, being super friendly, asking detailed questions about my deployment like we were best friends. I started getting actual condolence cards delivered to my military mailbox. Real sympathy cards, with handwritten messages from neighbors I'd lived next to for 3 years. The Hendersons from across the street, the young couple with the golden retriever, even the grumpy old man who complained about our lawn. All of them writing about how sorry they were and how I'd be missed by the neighborhood. I called Kendra demanding answers, but she claimed she had no idea why neighbors would send sympathy cards. Said maybe they were confused about deployment versus death, that civilian people don't understand military life. But her explanation felt hollow and rushed, and she ended the call saying Marcus needed help moving something heavy. When I tried calling our home landline, Marcus answered every single time. He'd claim Kendra was in the shower, at the store, taking a nap, always had a reasonable excuse for why she couldn't come to the phone. He promised she'd call back from the house phone, but she never did, only from her cell hours later. I started checking our joint bank accounts online and found charges that didn't make sense. Utility bills that were double normal, grocery receipts for amounts too large for just Kendra, multiple purchases at stores that sold kids' furniture and toys, even though we don't have children and weren't planning to start a family until after my deployment. The breaking point came when my commanding officer pulled me aside after morning briefing and said he'd received unusual communications about my family situation. He looked uncomfortable and asked if there was anything I needed to tell him about my emergency contact information. When I pressed for details, he just said I should call home immediately. I tried the house number one more time, and this time a little kid answered, a boy who couldn't have been more than 6, cheerfully saying, "Marcus and Mommy are making dinner right now." When I asked who he was, he said his name was Caleb and that he lived there now with his parents and baby sister. Before I could ask more questions, Marcus grabbed the phone from the kid. That's when I realized my brother-in-law hadn't just moved into my house while I was deployed overseas.